All right, guys, welcome back to part 2 of our Honda clutch job. So let's get started. Let's bolt a 10 millimeter 12 point. $17 millimeter 12 point. So let's get the flywheel removed. While we're in here, we're going to replace the rear main seal. It doesn't make sense to go this far and not replace the rear main seal. Alright, so we got the rear housing out. Now would be the time to go ahead and do this because we have the transmission out. This vehicle has like 160,000 miles on it. So now would be the time to do this while the transmission is out. It really would make sense to pass up the rear main, being that we're right here. So let's take it over to the bench and actually, let's clean up this surface first. And then we'll take it over to the bench, we'll clean this up, and then we'll get it all sealed up. Okay. So there's really not a large opening in here, but just to be on the safe side, we don't want nothing to fall down in there. So I'm gonna scrape all this old stuff off. All right, so now we got our surface cleaned up. We could clean up the rear main housing and slap another seal in there. All right, we'll just knock some of this crud off. So we got it cleaned up, the inside cleaned out, got the back cleaned off. All right, so I got a little bit of RTV on the back of this and on the bottom. Let's go ahead and get it mounted up here. Then we'll knock our seal in. All right, so we set our gun to stun. Torque it down. All right, so I'm gonna give this RTV a second just to dry a little bit. So let's go over to our transmission and let's get the clutch all set up. As you can see, we got it all cleaned out. Got all that old clutch material cleaned out of here. We don't want this stuff getting on our new clutch, so we got that cleaned out. So let's open up our clutch kit, and the first thing I like to do when I get my clutch kit is to take out the clutch disc and just make sure that it slides onto the splines so that I'm not trying to install a transmission and it doesn't want to go on. So we can see it fits it well. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is pull the seal out. We got a new seal, one on both sides. All right, so we got our seals here. We got 2 different part numbers on these seals. So we want to dump them out and compare them. All right, so it looks like we found our match. Spin it around. Get this other seal out first. All right, so we got our other side out. All right. Since we're over here, we might as well get this side in. There we go. Let's get our new seal in. And these things, for the most part, just press in. All right. So we got this seal in. Flip around and get the other seal in. All right, so let's press this one in. So we got our new seals in. All right, so it's nice and flush. Got our new seals in on both sides. Next thing I'm gonna do is take the clutch fork and just clean it up real quick on a wire brush and get all the old crud and grease that was on it. All right, so we got our clutch fork cleaned up. Let's go ahead and install it. All right, so we'll put a little bit of grease that came in the kit on the input splines, the input shaft splines. All right, next let's take a look at our flywheel. course, we got a new flywheel. So of course, we got a new flywheel. We don't want to gamble or take any chances on a paying customer's vehicle. So we got a new flywheel. This flywheel was pretty much not much more expensive than having one resurfaced. So my machinist charges $65 to resurface these things, and they're a lot harder to resurface, this style flywheel. And I bought this one for like $70, so just might as well go with a new one. All right, so let's get this prepped to go on the vehicle. The same stuff they put on rotors, like the anti-rust inhibitor, grease, oil, bearing. Looks like you probably got to hit this thing in from the back, because when I set it in there, it feels like it's sitting on top of something. Yeah, if you look, it's got some little raised area that the pilot bearing actually sits in. I think we need to hit this in from the back. That's how it looks. More to go. All right, so we got the pilot bearing knocked in. Seems to be about as far as it goes. Doesn't want to go in any. Let's go throw our flywheel on and knock our rear main seal. Okay, so I got my gasket shellac coated around my rear main seal. So it's going to help it slide in a lot easier, and it's also going to provide a nice seal for us. So let's get it installed. Also, our RTV is nice and dry. This stuff really helps. All right, so let's put some extra strength Loctite on it, the red. I've been using this gel Loctite. I really like this gel Loctite. And if you haven't used this gel Loctite yet, give it a try. You'll like it. All right, so I use the high strength on anything rotational that rotates at high speeds, especially a clutch. No one's really gonna go back in here for a long time. So let's make it permanent, so to speak. All right, let's rig our flywheel so that it won't turn, so we can torque it down. So I usually just put a wrench right here and I'll bolt it to the thread into the flywheel for the pressure plate. And then I'll put a bolt up here, a bell housing bolt. Put the bell housing bolt in. All right, here's my little lock, so we can just go through and torque these down. All right, so we got them all snugged up. Let's get our pressure plate. It says TM side for our transmission side, so can't really mess that up. So we got that. This tool is pretty good. Sometimes these tools kind of suck, but this one fits pretty good. Okay, so let's get our pressure plate. Let's get our pressure plate on. All right. Okay. All right, let's get a few bolts started. Same thing on these. I use high strength Loctite. All right, so I got the impact gun put on my hand tight setting because I want to slide this up a little bit and make sure it's like 100% centered before I tighten these up. All right, so I'm gonna snug these up by hand. You never wanna use an impact gun to snug these down. It's easy to snap one of these pressure plate bolts off using an impact gun. So Always do it by hand. If you snap one of these bolts off, it's gonna make for a pretty bad day. All right, got our clutch installed. All right, before we throw it up in there, just want to verify that our seals are flush. We got spline lube on. Everything looks good. Our clutch release bearing functioning. Our clutch fork is actually locked in place. So it's looking good. Alright, so on a transmission like this, it's pretty small. It's a light transmission. I usually just get it close, and then I just pretty much just pick it up and put it in. Alright, so it's in. Let's get a bolt started. Let's grab another one. All right, so if you recall, we had a busted mount, so we picked up a new mount. Got him a new transmission mount. So let's get this thing installed. All right, so there's a little cover here that sort of like a splash shield, keep water out of the clutch area. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that cover on right now before we get the little support brace on, and then we'll put our frame back up. Snug it up real quick. Okay. Alright, we got our little support brace back up. At this point, we can put our frame up. So these frames are pretty light. So if you was doing this alone, you could just pick it up and get it on a jack or something like that. But since I have Des here, I'm gonna ask Des to help me get this thing up and on. All right, so we got all our frame bolts started. Let's run them down.